Right, little job we've got to do on this tank then. So this is a diesel tank off a shunter. So like one of them wagons are used for shunting trailers about round a yard. But yeah, it's got a rusty hole in it. I don't know why at this end for some reason it's gone rusty. Underneath it's not great either. I think what I'll do first is I'll give it a power wash off. The guy that took it off said he didn't have access to a power washer, or the wagon it was off in the yard didn't have a power wash, so I couldn't give it a proper clean off. So I'll give it a quick wash off and then we'll see what's what. What are you nosy lot doing? Yeah. So I think I'll attack that with the air chisel and get some of that scaly rust off and see how bad it is. Obviously there's a hole there, so that side will need cutting out and replacing. We'll just see how bad the bottom is. I do have a needle gun as well, but my air chisel seems to have more power, so I use that for knocking rust off instead. And the bottom is not fantastic. You can see there I've nearly chiseled a hole in it, and you see how thin it is across there compared to what it's supposed to be like up there. So I think I'll chop a bit out across there and also cut a strip out from there, get rid of all that bit, press it round and then come to about there I think. The other end, although it is rusty, the thickness is still there. I can feel it is nice and thick still. So that's more, well, a bit of pitting, but most of it's surface rust. It's a bit more than surface rust, but there's still plenty of thickness there. So I can tell when I move it about there is still some liquid in it. But he did say when he took it off quite a bit of water came out. So I don't know if it's diesel or water. But it has been sat on its end like this for a while, so it's probably rained in. So I'll sit it right way up, drain whatever is in it out of it. And then before I start cutting into it, I'll maybe purge it with welding gas, either argon or I use a MIG welder, just in case when we cut into it, it's not going to explode. It's probably unlikely to explode, but you do see videos on YouTube, on the internet, of when they're welding on tanks and they do explode. I don't want to be one of them videos. Seems there was quite a bit of water in it. I had to put the bung back in because my thing's got a crack in it. So we'll get rid of that and then we'll drain the rest of it out. While that finishes draining out, I think I'm just going to undo them, take that out, just in case them pipes go anywhere where I'm going to damage them, and so it adds somewhere for the fumes and what have you to come out of. So the inside actually looks alright. It's a bit of crap in that in there on the sides, but rust wise it looks alright. So I'll maybe take the fuel level sensor out as well, and then I don't end up melting the float if I use a plasma cutter or whatever. There's only 5 bolts that hold it in anyway, so soon take that out. It looks a pretty well made tank. All these flanges that they've welded in are like 20mm thick. Even that one. I think before I start doing any cutting and welding on it, I'm going to give it the inside a blast out with a power washer to remove any diesel fumes that's left over. It doesn't look... yeah, it still smells of diesel. Whether I take that out as well, because there's a baffle in the middle and I can get in to wash that side out as well. It looks like it wants to wash out anyway with all the black stuff that's in it. That does a lot of good. The bottom's missing out of it. So that's the inside washed out. It does smell a bit diesely in there still, but it's a lot better than it was. And it's washed some of that crap out, so 2 jobs in one, I suppose. But I think we'll be all right to cut into it now. So I'll mark across there, and then I'll probably cut it out all in one down there, and then across around there, where I think it needs cutting out. And then I think I'll use the grinder, little grinder with a slitting disc, and then it doesn't put as much heat into it as what it would do if I was plasma cutting. There's no flame as such going into it. I've got that marked. The only thing is that's going to be in the way. But I'll guarantee that won't come undone. So I'll try it quickly. If it won't, then I'll just nick that off at the same time as when I'm cutting around here. And then we'll sort it out while it's off and then weld it back on again. That's the bad bit cut out. So you can see on the inside the steel is still like new. It's just rotten from the outside in. And then that's the bit where I attacked it with a chisel and it's gone a bit thin. So it's still nice and thick there, so when I weld the new bit in, there's some good steel to weld to again. You can see on the inside of the tank there's that baffle. Stop the diesel sloshing about. So the tank is made out of 4mm steel. So it's pretty thick for a diesel tank. I have some 4mm up there, so I'll get that down. And then we might as well put it on the CNC table and cut the strips out that I need. Unless I do it by hand. Anyway, we'll get it down anyway, cut a strip off, and then I have to press it to match that, and then cut an end out to weld back in again. I could have just patched over that, but I'd rather do a proper job and cut all the rust out and then remake it rather than just bodging it. So just measuring around that. And when I'm measuring stuff like this, I usually measure around the outside and then measure the inside, which the outside measurement is 15mm different to the inside measurement, and then just go for in the middle of there, which is 737.5. So that's the measurement I want. And it wants to be about 110mm. It gives me a little bit of welding gap down that side. So I want that measurement by 110. Mark that on. I think I'll just cut it out with a hand plasma rather than put it on the CNC table. That's that cut out. So I think to press it, I'm just gonna guess. I'm just gonna press one and then offer it up to it, mark where the second press needs to be, press that, and then just keep offering it up and pressing it where I think, rather than trying to mark them on and then press them. Right, that's that pressed. Seems to match up pretty well. Just wants a little bit grinding off the bottom there because it's a bit high there. But the presses seem to be in the right place. Near enough. Can pull it into place a little bit. So I think I'll just use the belt sander and sand a bit off the bottom of there. And then, yeah, I can lay that on my sheet of steel, draw around the inside of that, measure from there to there what that is, and then cut out that bit as well. I've got that clamped in around there. I've it out a little bit. The gap is a little bit big in the middle, but it's about right on the edges and the outsides. And it's flush with air, so it's about where I want it. So I just have to fill that gap in. I think I'm going to weld it round with a TIG first, because with a MIG welder, I've done diesel tanks before, and you often end up with little pinholes in like where you start and stop. Especially when it's not that thick a steel that you're welding, you have your heat turned fairly well down so you don't burn through. But then you start and stops are cold and you end up with little pinholes. So yeah, I'm gonna do it with a TIG. It'll take a bit longer, and then I'll do like a root weld with a TIG, and then I'll probably go over that with a MIG afterwards. I'll weld this bit in first before I put this end bit in, and then there's still good ventilation in there, and then we'll weld that bit in after. So I've got that bit fully welded round. I don't think I need to go over it again. I think there's enough weld there. It is only really to seal it up. It doesn't really need full strength. You can see on the inside I've got full penetration on most of it. The bit there that's not quite come all the way through. The heat has just pulled it out of shape a little bit, but I've got a big clamp that will go around there, from there to there, and pull it back again. So yeah, I'll cut this bit out now to go in here. I might overlap that bit a couple of mil, 5 mil or so, 10 mil, and onto there. So I've got that welded up now. That overlaps onto there by about 10 mil. Just thought it'd be easier to weld it on. And I weld it all the way around there. I know I say this every time I do TIG welding, but I still feel like I'm learning. I'm still a beginner. I don't feel that's too bad. I could do with getting some thicker filler rod. I think it's not really thick enough for, you're just absolutely feeding the rod in all the time, which is quite difficult when you're not very good at feeding the rod at the best of times. And then them side corner bits, I've just gone over them. There was a bit of a gap to fill there. I belt sanded too much out where the weld is, so there was a bit of a gap to fill, and I've gone over it again to make sure it's properly sealed up. I think this lot I'll go over it with the grinder and smooth it off a bit, but it should all be sealed up. It took a lot longer than it would do with a MIG, but say it's practice as well for me TIG welding, so don't mind spending a bit more time on it. Yeah, at least that rotten bit's cut out now, rather than just patching over it. So just giving that a bit of a smooth off around there, and again and then giving it a spray of grey primer. So it still needs all these bits bolting back in yet, but the customer's going to do that because I haven't got any sealant. So there's that to go back in. And then there's a fuel pickup and also the fuel gauge, which is that bit. Actually, I just noticed that's on an O-ring and that's on a little rubber gasket, so I can put them back in. It's just that inside a paper gasket, but I haven't got anything to do with that, so yeah, I'll put them back in and then leave that. Wow, it's raining a lot. Now I've got them bolted on. I've just put some blanks on there. Got that back in. I've just had a go. I can seal that up with the glove and put the airline into there, and I can build a bit of pressure up on it. So might be a two-man operation. I have to get my dad to give me a hand. But if I pressurise it and then get him to squirt some soapy water around it and sort of pressure test it and make sure it doesn't leak. I've also welded that back on as well. I think I forgot to say. I just put it back where it was originally and then welded it back on. The bolt goes all the way through to the other end. I thought if I try and unseize it, it might snap off. So I just weld it back on where it was. Oh yeah, see if I can give it a quick pressure test.
Pressurise it, yeah.
So I can put this, it doesn't pressurise it much.
No, you don't want to write that, do you? No. It's alright, mate. You can't get much on there.
No.
It's alright, mate.
So there don't seem to be any leaks on that, which is good. So yeah, I'll call that done now. Customer's coming for that tomorrow, so I'll take that out. I've also got my leyland in at the moment over the weekend. I did that, cut that out and welded that in on Friday. And then what I've done today is I've just smoothed the welds off and painted it and then pressure tested it. Leyland's ready to go back out again. So I bent them last time I was out with it. Bent 2 push rods. So I have a spare engine, so I took some straight push rods out my spare engine, put them in, compression tested it on the cylinder where it bent these, and it's got a good compression on that cylinder. So obviously I've got away without bending any valves, and I've had it running again, so I think we're good to go. So yeah, I'll take that out as well. Right, so that's all for this week. The reason why this video is instead of part 2 of the post knocker is because I still haven't got the parts for it. I don't seem to be able to win whoever I get the parts off. ProTech were taking a while to get back to me, and then my normal supplier is not getting them in until Monday, so it's taking a while to get the parts for it. Well, if anyone wants a hoodie as well, there's still plenty in stock now the weather's started to turn. So there's zip up type like that, or the standard type. Oh, I have some polos as well, and then the logo on the back. These are the same ones that I wear all the time when I'm working. Yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.